Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com. We got Clint Garner lined up here at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame Museum, and that's coming up next on KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com.
Tired of doing this? Get a can of this and spend more time doing this. Seafoam helps engines start easier, run smoother, and last longer. Seafoam. Seafoam! Help your engine run smoother and last longer with Seafoam motor treatment. Just pour it in. Seafoam works to clean your fuel system, clean your oil system, and stabilizes fuel up to 2 years. Make the proven choice. Seafoam motor treatment. Available everywhere automotive products are sold.
A true outlaw travels far and wide, kicking up dirt wherever he roams, never backing down from a fight. June 20th to 26th, more than $500,000 will be up for grabs as the Huset's 50 and the AGCO Jackson Nationals combine to find out who's got what it takes to become a legend, make history, and win the showdown with one driver able to bring home $180,000. Get your tickets today at HusetsSpeedway.com.
Hey, and welcome back to KnoxvilleDirtDigest.com. I've got a gentleman here in the room tonight at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame Museum who I finally, I don't want to say convinced, he made time. We'll go with that way. He's been a busy, busy, busy man. Every time I call, you're doing something new. Here a couple weeks ago, you did the old, what I call the split personality car. A salute to Jeff Swindell and Greg Hodnett. Won that night. We'll talk about all that, Clint, but I always start off every show pretty much with going back in the Wayback Machine. Born and raised where?
I'm from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I was born in 1975, and that's about the era where Wolfgang was just taking off. So big Wolfgang fans in my home turf.
Were you a race fan from word go? Was your family into racing, or how did you get involved?
Yeah, I mean, we weren't diehard by any means, but, I guess it probably started as a fan partly due to Doug Wolfgang, and we have another friend, Greg Gaffney, who's been coming down here. He is definitely a diehard, but one of the first memories I have of Knoxville, I was probably about 10 years old, and my dad and all his friends loaded up the truck with stacks of beer and came down here with Gaffney and his friends, and we camped down in 3 and 4, and that was kind of the beginning of it, and then we just were spectators until I was about senior in high school when an opportunity arose where I got to work on the cars.
Play sports in school?
Yeah, I was a wrestler. My dad was a wrestler. We did a little bit of track and stuff, but pretty much just the wrestling team, and that's how my racing team started. It was the wrestling team from my high school.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. When you started working on cars, who'd you work on?
His name was Jeff Davis, and he was actually my boss in junior high school. And 2 days out of the 9th grade, I fell off a rock quarry about 35 feet or something, and dang near died. Well, when I was in the hospital, he bought a sprint car. And when I got out, he said, I found something for us to do. It'll keep you out of trouble. So I started working on that, and we did that for a year or so. And then we met Vance Peterson, and along the way, another guy came and wanted us to build him an engine, and Jeff had a good idea. He said, hey, I'll build you an engine, but what we want to do is we're going to keep your car here, and Clint gets to drive it on Friday night. So that's how it all started, and Russ Skank was the driver of that car, and he still comes down here now and camps during the Nationals, and he was in the pits just a couple weeks ago with us, So it's there's been so many people that have helped me along the way, and every single person's been a big part of it, so it's hard to single out any one single person.
When you first started racing, where was the first track you raced at?
Is Lake County, which is Madison, South Dakota, which is about a half an hour north of Sioux Falls, and it's just kind of a little black dirt track in a slough, basically, so it was always really, really tacky. Mm-hmm. And the very first race I won, I just held it to the floor and just bogged it down in the corners and ripped it off, and it worked, so... But it's been an adventure, and that's where it started.
What year are we talking about?
93, my senior year of high school.
I'm trying to think. We went to, was it 360 or 410?
360s.
Were we doing the small wings back then still?
Yep.
Yeah.
I started with a 60 compound McCreary with I think there were 4x4 wings with small sideboards, and Gary Lee Meyer and some of those guys down south would come up and run against us, on the national. IMCA division is what it was,
Right.
So they're kind of home-built engines back then. I mean, they were, we were getting away with stock rods, stock everything, basically, and they just put an injection on it. But they didn't last long. Once a guy got good at driving them and driving them hard, you could blow them up pretty easy.
Yeah. I remember down here, the first car I ever had, it was the Firestone double diamond tires.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't wear them things out in the daytime, let alone any other race. But It was something else. Those McCreary tires were a good tire back then, I thought. I mean, they lasted a long time. To do it with a smaller wing, it was pretty close to being non-winging, though. You had to be a driver.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to feel non-wing till way later in my career, and I do have a ton of respect for that type of racing. I don't really enjoy it because I know the dangers of it, but there was one thing I did like about it. You have to be absolutely nuts to run a non-wing car into the corner wide open. I mean, them things feel like they're going to tip over from the very minute you get in them, so the guys that can run those hard are definitely the wildest ones of the bunch. You know, they get and I can see now them guys are getting into the wing stuff, and I'm sure some of it is for the comfort factor. I mean, you know, the wing does a lot for you while you're crashing, and honestly, it does a lot for you on the track, and it puts a whole different type of fun into it.
When you guys finally got the big wing on top, I can't remember what you want to say, mid-90s, 95 maybe or so, with the 360 programs. What was the biggest thing, the challenge for that, or was it? Did it feel more comfortable with you?
You know, it definitely hooked the cars way up more.
Right.
But the biggest challenge would have been is the engine. You know, as soon as we put those big wings on them, it started pulling the motors down harder, and you know it just brought the engine program up to something above stock rods.
Had to. What was, if I dare say this, your first bullet that was just unbelievably, you knew this thing was going to win races no matter what?
I had, let's see, you know, the first several years, probably 7 years or so, from 93 to 2000 was all the home-built engines. And I remember the number being about $3,500. We could put together a bottom end, and we'd put our injection and mag in it, and all that stuff I did myself. So, I mean, it was kind of neat. I got to learn that part of the engine, you know, dropping a mag and timing it and making sure the side-to-side was right and stuff. But you know, the first good engine I got was probably from Ricky Stenhouse's dad, Dynotech, in Memphis. And the neat part of that story is I called everybody I knew that could afford $100 and asked if they'd kick in $100 to buy the engine. And that's how we got our first engine. And, you know, another cool thing about that story is Alex Vandervoort was struggling to get his first engine this year. And I kind of threw that idea at him and helped him come up with a list of people. And Alex bought his first race engine with $100 donations also.
What was that first motor price-wise, you remember?
$10,000.
$10,000.
Yeah, it was $10,000.
Doesn't even touch it nowadays. That's what gets me on the 360 program. It's just the phenomenality. We'll get into that a little bit more. But coming down to Knoxville, you mentioned, you know, the first time you came down here was with that. First time with a race car, though. When was that?
The first time I was in a race car?
In a race car, yeah.
That was 1993. Would have been the year I graduated from high school. Jeff let me hot lap his car, and then Ross came along with that other, you know, 2G car that, you know, I drove every Friday night, and then he'd drive it Saturday and Sunday. So it is a long time ago.
Long time ago in here. When you first pulled into Knoxville as a race car driver, did you think, yeah, I made it?
You know, it was my stories go on and on, you know, but the first time I came to Knoxville, I had went on the road with World of Outlaws as a mechanic / truck driver, basically a janitor.
Right.
And that was in 2000, and I got home and went back out on the road in 2001 with Steve Kinzer, and I didn't last there very long. We just had a little bit of, you know, personality issues amongst the team, and Gherkin said, hey, if you want to go home, I think I can figure out another way to do this. So I went home, and I just told everybody I'm going to Knoxville next year, and they told me there's no way. How are you going to do that? You can't even afford to make it to Huset's. And I basically just kept talking about it, and it finally came true, you know, and we got down here, and I had that $10,000 engine that I got from Stenhouse, and we were decent. I mean, I ran third to Brownie in the points that year, and he was driving for Lasowski with his grandpa, and it was definitely a good season. I mean, it really – I learned then I have a lot more pleasure driving on the big tracks. I mean, it's a little bit easier to not tear the cars up if you're having a good night.
Right.
Go get some. If you're not, it's pretty easy to – kind of stay out of the way, knock on wood, you know. But the fact that track's this wide, it does make it a little easier to find a groove where there's plenty of real estate.
When you talked about going out and running with Kinzer and stuff, you continued to learn from other teams as well. That wasn't the last time you went out and helped the big dogs, if you will.
No, I ended up working with a bunch of them. I spent some time with Sammy and Steve, and I never did work for Wolfgang, but he was the one that coached me from the very beginning, you know. And Tyler Walker I spent some time with, Jason Sides. You know, a lot of the stuff that I learned, I maybe already kind of knew about the mechanics of the cars, but,
right.
You know, I learned a lot of lessons sitting in the grandstands with the mechanics, watching these guys drive these cars. And it's one of the most important things I feel like I learned that has probably helped produce the championships is running around the top on the starts is about 10% chances you're going to come out of there. You can definitely become a hero real fast, but about 90% of the time you're going to end up into the fence where everybody else was collected with the way it goes down. They all end up on the outside fence crashed.
Who was the guy to beat when you started? Let me back it up a little bit. You got your first championship. Who was the guy to beat that year that was going to take that championship away from you? Because you came in pretty stellar that year.
I don't even remember, the first championship. What I do remember coming down here, one of the first things I did was chase Josh Higday around the track, or Don Dowd comes to mind, and they're right up against the fence. And I was on them going into one, and then all of a sudden they're gone. Like, I went home and I was like, Doug, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Or what do you think they're doing different than I am? And he's like, I guarantee you one thing, they're not letting off. Right. So I got a lot of respect for Josh Higday from the very beginning. He kind of showed me how hard you really need to run to get this thing around the top at Knoxville. And a lot of nights the top of Knoxville is the place to be. But, when I come down here and really wanted to learn how to be a champion, I noticed that you kind of need to figure out the bottom. Mm-hmm. The top is kind of the easy road. And if you can blast the bottom and make that happen, that's the safe route and the fast route.
It's a shorter way around the track, distance-wise.
It's the hardest way around the track. It's very difficult to hit your marks consistently. You can do 3-4 laps in a row perfect, and the next time you miss it by a mile, and everything you gained is just gone so fast. So it's a challenging track, and it's a forgiving track if you treat it with respect.
For many years, you became the Blue 40. Every driver I interviewed in that infield, every time we talked about championship racing, every time we talked at Points Banquet, every driver, with the respect to you, said, next year we're coming back to beat that Blue 40. You were the guy to beat, and still are.
Yeah, I mean, we try really hard to do this after we get done working our day jobs, Right. So when I think it was like 05, 6, 7, 8 or so, I ran some 410 seasons down here. I think the best I did was third, and I won a couple races. It's the engine packages that those guys have, and the lifespan of them is so short. I learned real fast that I couldn't afford to race 410s. Well, as I got a little older, I kind of feel like, out of respect to those guys that race for a living, the guy that works 50 hours a week probably don't belong on the track with the guy that lives and breathes this stuff every day, mm-hmm. and is here to, create grocery money and mortgage payments.
What's it like to be the target?
It's good. I mean, there's pressure. I put a ton of pressure on myself in lots of ways, but I really don't put a whole lot of pressure on myself worrying about the other guys. It's hard. It's really hard to just build a team, come here, not break down. I mean, I give a lot of, attention to detail, along with my brother's help and Al Parker's help, and every bit of them, on my team. We all try hard to make sure this thing's not going to fall apart. I mean, I go through Loctite like no other, but the bolts are always tight on my car, and the engines are always running, and the tires always have air in them. I mean, it's a great team that we've created, and so far everybody seems to enjoy the heck out of it.
There's a lot of family teams down here, but I don't think the stories of the family teams quite fall back like yours do. You have in-laws and direct members of your family all involved in this deal.
Yeah, I mean, my father-in-law or my in-laws definitely probably deserve the financial credit to keep me on the track, right along with Al Parker. My dad and my brother and I and Wyatt and Jay, and there's a ton of friends, like I said, from the wrestling team and around us from high school that have stayed with us. But the financial part of it is the reason. I give those two men the credit for the championships. I mean, sure, we can build a good race car as mechanics, and I can drive the wheels off it as long as it's under me. But the way Al Parker produces engines to put in my car and come down here and go for the championship is why we've got the championships. I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are. If you think you're going to come down here with a home-built engine or a single engine, it's we've been fortunate. We've done seasons with the single engine, but Al has also pulled off one night overhauls, to make sure that we've got something to come back to the track the next day.
Who's your worst enemy out there? Is it yourself or somebody else?
I don't have any enemies at the track. I do try really hard to not make friends at the track. Friends are hard to pass.
Right.
So when we get here, I just kind of mind my own business and stay in the trailer. I have a ton of friends, but out on the racetrack, I don't have anybody that I completely hate. I don't hate anybody in life. I mean, It's just not in me. I give everybody a second chance and third and fourth chance. It's just sometimes on the track, racing things happen. And like I said, I pride myself on staying out of them situations. If somebody's coming at me and squeezing me into the wall, I'm getting out of it. I'll take 10th place. I just want to finish the race. Now if somebody's coming and blasting me from the rear and taking me out of the race, that's kind of, out of my hand, and I'm going to have a tough time dealing with that guy for a minute.
Right.
But, I still will forgive and forget.
You have that mentality that I always said Skip Jackson has, and he told me this, and, in order to finish first you have to finish.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to win a championship, it don't matter what place you get. You need to be there to get the checkers.
Right. Let's talk about the split car, if you will. That was completely unbelievable, awesome. I came right up to you and told you that. I mean, that was one of the neatest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and I wish that was my idea. I mean, my team and Octane and the everybody in Sioux Falls did a lot to make it happen. But J.D. Kramer, who is the son of Bob Kramer, who was one of the original owners of the team, It was his idea, and it was all supposed to happen last year. Well, with the COVID and stuff, it didn't. And then he called me back this spring, and he said, "Hey, we still on? Can we do this?" I'm like, "Heck yeah!" So he sent me up a bundle of stickers, and Octane helped me get them all stuck on the car, and it was great. The people that were involved in that deal, JD, Hubbard, Hodnet, all them people I know from working on the road with the Outlaws, and Robert Hubbard took me under his wing and brought me all around the country and introduced me to all these people. And all those people are the ones that kind of taught me the ropes, to keep up with the fast cars. And it was amazing. I mean, Hodnet's sisters came down to the car after the races and took pictures. And I mean, these people are in tears, so, and giving me credit, like I did something, and I didn't. Only thing I did special was stuck stickers on the car. Other than that, I came here to do my job, and fortunately that night, it all came together, but miracles happen.
I'm a superstitious type guy. I told you when you pulled into Victory Lane, don't change this thing, bring this car back next time around. That's just the way I am. But you drove a heck of a race. I mean, you had the opportunity. Everything worked out where you started up front. The motor program, unbelievable again with Parker Engines and that deal. But you got into lap traffic, and sometimes around here, lap traffic can be your worst nightmare, and everything, I mean, just perfectly went through timing and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and I said it in Victory Lane, and I thought of it early in the day, how, Greg was with me that night, and when I was running around there chasing everybody down and looking out ahead, I thought of Greg then, and I'm like, man, if I need help, it's right now, so it worked out perfectly,
Yeah.
And it was a ton of fun to be a part of it. I got home, and I had friend requests from, family of that team, and Tom and Kay Wimmer sent me a message and said, hey, couldn't appreciate it more, that you would participate in our team for the night. And, it was super fun.
Yeah.
Chris Santucci, who was down in Memphis with Roger Johnson, and it all was just a big part of my life. I lived in Memphis several springs, learning more about race cars and earning money working on race cars. That's kind of the only time I've ever earned money having anything to do with race cars is working on them.
Yeah. We would be remiss if we didn't bring up your Friday night habits right now. We got to talk about the future.
Yeah. I've got a great deal going down at English Creek, about 10 miles south of Knoxville, and it's it started with my 14-year-old now. Well, he'll be 14 next week, and then behind him came my cousin Nick, Knox's son, and then his daughter Sky, and now my son Luke. He's 6, and so we've got 4 go-karts working out of one trailer, and basically have just learned go-karts from scratch. We didn't race go-karts when I was a kid, and
Right.
those things are, for as simple as they are, to make them operate around the track, it's pretty tricky. There's a lot of maintenance that goes into them, and Mike Profit and Jerry Jansen, and I've had some superb help getting the go-karts around the track, but they've kind of shooed us off, and we're on the kind of on our own a little bit, and the kids are doing great. My Cole, my 13-year-old's got a 250 now on his, and we're trying to get him up to speed, and he's racing against 15-year-olds for the most part, you know. So within a year or two here, I'm hoping to get him in a sprint car. But first, we're gonna just kind of focus at the task at hand and see what we can do at the go-kart track.
Proud papa moments out there?
Oh yeah. And I'm super soft. I get choked up easy, you know. So it's been good. I mean, his little brother has got us all kind of concerned right now because Cole was super conservative the whole way along. I have every wing, every car he ever raced. He never bent nothing, you know, and there's 4 of them. And his little brother's gotten in the car this year and tore the wheels off it 2 of the 5 times he's been on it. And he's fast,
yeah.
But I had to pull the reins back on him. And I kind of told him, I said, dude, your brother never crashed. He just flat didn't crash, you know. And he pretty much told me, yeah, but he ain't fast like I am, Dad. So
That's awesome.
we've got a ways to go with him, but it's fun and it keeps everybody involved. We all go to English Creek on Friday nights and, you know, spend 3-4 hours there doing our go-kart stuff and go back to the campground and, you know, get ready for today. So hopefully everything goes good tonight.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming in. I know you got a lot on your plate. You know, everybody thinks that all he does is race, but you work the job. You do everything else too. Thank you for taking time to come down.
Oh, for sure. Thanks a lot for everything you guys do.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of Knoxville Dirt Digest. We'll see everybody next time.
Tired of doing this? Get a can of this and spend more time doing this. Seafoam helps engines start easier, run smoother, and last longer. Seafoam. Seafoam! Help your engine run smoother and last longer with Seafoam motor treatment. Just pour it in. Seafoam works to clean your fuel system, clean your oil system, and stabilizes fuel up to 2 years. Make the proven choice. Seafoam motor treatment. Available everywhere automotive products are sold.
A true outlaw travels far and wide, kicking up dirt wherever he roams, never backing down from a fight. June 20th to 26th, more than $500,000 will be up for grabs as the Huset 50 and the AGCO Jackson Nationals combine to find out who's got what it takes to become a legend, make history, and win the showdown with one driver able to bring home $180,000. Get your tickets today at HusetSpeedway.com.